Yeah, we're going. Right, a little sip of water before I get on to the next one. Oh dear. That didn't go down too well. Right, so the next one. Glenmorangie is well up there. Oh, you are wet and stinky, and my dog's down here, obviously. And you're filthy as well. I thought I'd cleaned you. Thanks. Cheers for that. Tar. Go and sit on your bed. Sit on your bed rather than dragging mud all over the kitchen floor. No, bed. Oi, bed. Get on your, it's like talking to my children. Good boy. No. Bed. Sit down. Sit. No, on your bed. It's like talking to my wife as well. Yeah, oh, thanks for that. Right, so Glenmorangie, top 5 biggest selling single malts, possibly the second. I wouldn't like to say for certain, but there's certainly an argument for it, certainly in the UK. But this next one is the biggest in the world. And it was founded in 1886 by a man called William Grant, and we are currently on the 5th generation of that family who are still running the business today. Now, Glenfiddich means Valley of the Deer in Gaelic Scotch, or Gaelic Scotch, Scottish Gaelic. Talking absolute nonsense. It's a Friday night, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, but we need to carry on with this. Yes, Glenfiddich means Valley of the Deer, which is why deer are a big part of its packaging. And it's in Dufftown, which is pretty much slap bang in the centre of the Speyside region. I've got the map up there for you now. The distillery was built by William Grant and his family in 1886, and the stills first ran on Christmas Day of 1887, which they make quite a big point of stating on their marketing. Now, proved to be very, very popular as a whisky. Was used in a lot of blends, and during Prohibition was one of the few. I think there was only about 6 distilleries where during Prohibition in the US, which is where a lot of the whiskey blended whiskies were going. Prohibition and then World War II with the Great Depression, a lot of distilleries either really massively reduced production and just kept themselves ticking over, or closed completely. But Glenfiddich were one of the few, possibly of only sort of 6, maybe 7, that carried on going. And Glenfiddich was the only one, I believe, that actually increased production during Prohibition, essentially making a massive gamble that Prohibition would stop, the Great Depression would eventually turn itself around, and there would be that demand for whiskey once more. And the gamble paid off because they had stocks, they were ready for it, and as soon as the curtain was lifted, they were ready to go. And Glenfiddich, out of all of the distilleries and businesses that were running them, were always one step ahead of the game. They were the first, or if not the first, one of the first to use gift tins and gift boxes to sell their whiskey as packages, to give as gifts. They were the first single malt to essentially market themselves as a single malt rather than just being used into blends and being kind of small batches of bottlings as for connoisseurs and all this lot. They were the first one to really push themselves in the wider market as a single malt Scotch whisky. They were one of the first to take advantage of duty free. They were the first one to market themselves overseas as a single malt. They really pushed the whole single malt Scotch market and led it down the path to where it is now, which is such a huge industry worldwide. And now, because of that, somewhere between 30 and 35% of all the sales across the world of single malt Scotch whisky, 30 to 35% of that is Glenfiddich. That one there. Now, this triangular bottle as well, which is really distinctive and which nobody has come anywhere near of emulating, was actually designed by a German, Hans Günther, I think, but the name has just literally pinged out of my head. So I'm going to say that, probably wrong. but it was designed in 1956, maybe 57, 1956, when it was designed. And basically it was designed to be easy to stack, because you can stack triangle, 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 triangle. And designed also to be, really recognisable on the shelf. Everyone else at the time is just the standard bottlings. So to have a triangular bottle costs a little bit extra, but that distinctiveness then pays off. You've got to speculate to accumulate. So, biggest selling whisky in the world, right in the middle of Speyside, still family owned, and the Grant's family, or the Grant's business, William Grant's and Sons, own Balvenie as well. So is this a triumph of marketing and packaging, and business over the actual whisky itself, over the quality? Because as with Glenmorangie that I've just had, the whisky itself is okay, but they've made absolute hay with packaging and bottling and wood finishes and everything like that. Now Glenfiddich's huge, and again they've got a lot of different ages, and they've gone into the special editions and things like that. And they had a 64-year-old which was £20,000 a bottle, or however much it was. It's another one of these big brands where marketing starts to take over from the actual product itself. So, kind of like a apple-y pear, kind of almost like a pastry feel. Now, I've said tart tatin a number of times for that kind of caramelized fruitiness. This isn't so much tart tatin. This is more like a brownie apple pie. So it's not that burnt caramel edge to it. It's a bit more of a fresh apple-y and a fresh pear feel to it. But there is that kind of pastry with sugar sprinkled on the top as well. Very pleasant nose, very fresh actually. Quite a light colour as well. I'm not sure if you're going to pick that up, but it really is quite a light colour. And again, that pear really comes through. And definite pear rather than apple. But there is a nice fresh juiciness to it. There's a little bit of oakiness there. Again, not too drying, and it actually supports that that pear. And pear's definitely the kind of pear drops. So there's that slight sugary sherbetiness that you get from a pear drop. I can absolutely see why this is one of the biggest selling in the world, not just because of the marketing. It's not astounding, but it is a very, very good whiskey. The Glenmorangie, which I've just had, for such a big name, was not a disappointing whiskey, but just a very uneventful one. Just very, very mainstream, for want of a better word. A bit flat, nothing wrong with it. This is interesting. This has got something different about it. And it's actually very, very pleasant. Now, again, this is another one where I haven't had Glenfiddich in donkey's years, because it's a big brand, it's absolutely everywhere, and I'm trying to taste all different things. And, I haven't drunk a lot for a number of years because I've been out of the drinks industry, and it's literally what have I got in my cupboard, mainly bourbon, so I'm just going to drink that. But this is very, very pleasant indeed, and enjoyable to drink, and fresh, quite distinctive, and it's really surprised me. You could probably tell because it's kind of, I'm struggling to actually speak, but it surprised me how distinctive it is compared to anything else that I've tried before. It really is quite pleasant indeed. Got a little bit more woodiness on that one, a little bit more oakiness that was just a little bit overpowering. So the danger is the balance isn't quite there. Only on that mouthful. The one before, that oakiness wasn't quite as pronounced, and therefore the fruitiness was coming through. That was about in between. Good whiskey. To be honest, I'm surprised how enjoyable that was to drink. Fair play to it. I can't actually fault that, to be honest. Very, very pleasant, quite distinctive, but not in a Isla distinctive where somebody that's new to malt whisky is going to go, oh Jesus Christ, that's so full on. It's not full on, it's delicate, but it's a really nice, delicate, fresh fruitiness. And I'm very impressed with that. Glenfiddich, thank you very much. You have surprised the hell out of me. So that's the two major brands. I'm going to give myself a night off. I'm probably going to do another video tomorrow in terms of why I'm doing this challenge, because I think I need to explain a little bit more as to the reasoning behind me doing this challenge, why I'm doing it for charity, what the charity is for, and what this challenge means to me in terms of the reason behind me picking the charity and actually wanting to do this to raise money. This isn't for shits and giggles. This isn't just an excuse for me to have a shot of whiskey every night or 2 shots of whiskey every other night. This is a challenge to challenge me to see if I can actually stick something out for a year, and to do something that's difficult, to try and source all these whiskies, but also to try and get people to be aware of this charity that I'm raising money for and donate money. Ultimately, that's the most important bit, to raise this charity as much money as possible, because it has saved the life and continues to save the life of a little boy who is my daughter's best friend. And even though they're 6 years old, it's that sort of friendship that could blossom into something even bigger when they're older. And I'd like to give that little boy the chance for that relationship to blossom, rather than it to be tragically cut short. So that's going to be filming tomorrow, and hopefully that will encourage you to spread the word, help me out in terms of drams, help me out in terms of donations, and give me more impetus to keep going with it. So Glenfiddich, very, very nice indeed. 25 quid a bottle for that, roughly. And well worth it, certainly worth it more than the Glenmorangie. Right, I am going to have an early night because I am knackered. It is Friday, and I'm going to enjoy a lie-in tomorrow morning. And I will see you at the next one. Take care.